guys, Mitch from Switchback Lighting here. In this video we're going to be showing you how to install one of our new kits to turn this DRL headlight VE Series 1 and 2 into this. These headlights feature a sequential DRL strip and 2 sequential halos in each headlight. Back to your OEM, you've got no halos and you've got a white DRL light. So pretty much we're going to use our kit to turn that into that, and it's pretty easy, so let's get into it. So first things first, we need to strip this down, get this ready to take apart essentially. So we need to open this headlight up to obviously install our rings and our DRL strip. So the prep that we normally do, spin your headlight around. First off, take our caps off. These are brand new headlights. Can be done obviously with second-hand ones. We've got our H1 bulbs in there, which we're going to remove. We've got our indicator over here, which we'll unplug and twist out, put to the side. And we've got all these breathers here. So I normally use a pair of needle nose pliers. These breather caps come off. These are for shipping essentially. You need your breathers, otherwise your headlights will fog up. So I'm gonna go around and take all of those out. So there's 5 of them, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yep. The next thing, obviously we are going to take those bulbs out, your high beam and your low beam. We also need to use a screwdriver to take these Phillips head screws out. So this is actually, this goes through, pretty much holds the lens to the body because these are sealed with butyl, so they will come apart with a bit of heat. So take these out. Apologies, I am holding my phone and while recording, so these will go aside as well. With these bulbs, they are H1, so your negative is always going to be on the frame for halogens. Your positive is always going to be on the back of the bulb. So pretty much we'll just wiggle them out. This is super hard with one hand. And then your bulbs, push down the retaining clip and take your bulb out. So we're going to be taking these out whilst putting these in the oven. The cable I'm just going to wrap around there so it doesn't move. Same with this. We've got a similar situation here where you push your tab down, push it across and take these out. Now this retaining clip actually comes out, so it just sits in, uses the pressure of the bulb to keep it in there. So I'm going to take that right out so we don't lose it. Essentially now we've got our oven preheated to 100 degrees. We're going to throw this in for 7 minutes and split them apart. So I'll throw that in there and we'll get back after that. We're waiting for that. I'm going to show you essentially what you get in the kit. So you'll get a pair of 90mm halos, which is your low beam, pair of 80mm halos, which is your high beam, and you'll get a pair of replacement LED strips that we've had custom designed especially for these headlights. So essentially they'll replace your standard. So I've got, this is what will come out. This is our standard white version that we will unscrew from the headlight when it comes out of the oven and simply screw this one in and we are all good. These are obviously a 2-core, with a 3-pin JST with 2 of the pins there, so won't be used anymore. We've got a 3-pin with 3 wires to go in there, so you'll get a pair of each of the sizes, LEDs, whatnot. You will get a controller This controller in particular is a 2-output controller. You will receive a 4-output controller with 2 splitters to give you 6 outputs, because obviously you'll need 3 outputs per side. You'll receive that. You'll receive a cable gland for each headlight. It's running your cables through and outside the headlight. And the last thing you will receive is some headlight sealant. You'll receive a whole box of this. You adjust your headlight and you use this much. We send out a whole lot just in case you need it in the future. Easier to ship it as well. So essentially it's just hot melt sealant. So you put it in the oven, it gets really soft. Once you bring it out into cooler weather, it will go hard and seal your headlight up. So wait for this to be done and we'll get back to it. Got the headlights out of the oven. Basically all we're going to do is push these tabs back and essentially grab the lens and push and pull apart. So I'm going to do this off camera because I don't have a tripod for the camera to sit on to do this, and then I'll get back to you when we've done that. What I like to do when pulling these apart is whenever there's butyl sticking like this, I run my finger along and collect all the bad stuff, just so it doesn't get everywhere. So you see here, if I can do this with one hand, I just run my finger along, get rid of all of this so it doesn't stick to things we don't want it to. They are apart. We've got our DRL cable that just unplugs here. Essentially we can just put that aside for now because we don't need it. The next thing I'm going to do is there's 3 screws holding this whole shroud in. We've got 1 here, they are gold screws, 2 and 3. Once they are out, the whole section will pull away from the lens. We'll put the lens aside and we'll work on the internal part. Essentially what we've got here is the internal shroud fresh off the lens. So I'm going to flip him over. We've got all these screws holding the board in. So we're going to take every single one of them. We're going to pull the little driver off the sticky stuff here, the adhesive. Take all them out and get ready to put our new one in. The screws are out, so just going to go around and take the old LED strip off. So this is our new LED strip. So essentially I'm going to start from this end and just screw them in all the way around until we get to the top, in which this metal clip will go back on. We'll chat about that when we get up to it. So I'm going to do that and get that done. I'm up to this corner now. Something you've just got to look out for, be very careful. So we've got the screw hole is very, very close to the wiring here. So we want to get that screw in, but making sure that we're not hitting the insulation of the wires, because they are metal screws. Could cause a short and cause the rest of the strip not to work. So you can either, if you don't have enough room to get the screw in, I normally put a bit of glue on there. If you do, in this case I do, I'll just push these out of the way essentially and screw it in. I've put this screw on. I'm going to zoom in and show you how close it actually is to them. So we just want to watch that. Yeah, as I said, if you do squish the insulation there, you could cause a short, which would cause the strips to stop working. Last thing you want to do is be pulling these headlights apart again after you've finished them. I'm going to continue, get the rest of these done. To the end here, this pretty much just slots in and our metal clip goes over the top and pretty much holds this in place. Now what you'll notice is, if I get a pointer, on the back of these boards there are metal pads still exposed. So what we do want to do, because this is a piece of metal, we want to put something on the end here just to insulate it, make sure it's not going to short. So when I normally do this, I either use this piece of material here, or on the other strip they put just a bit of sort of double-sided tape to prevent it from shorting. So this can just pull up, but if I can get this up in one piece, which it's not looking like I'm going to be able to, so what I'll probably do is use this piece, put that on the back of the LED chip, board I should say, line it up and screw it in. You'll see what I mean. As I explained last video, I've put that bit of sort of double-sided tape there. You can see where it's going to touch if I didn't put it in. So it's just essentially the bit that's holding everything down. So that's all good when we are ready to move on with the halos. Before I move on the halos, I'm just going to flick the controller on just to test the strip. Strip is all working as it should. Just pressing down on the back of it just to make sure nothing moving around is going to stop it from working. Seems pretty good. We're going to move on to the halos, which I'll run through with you now. Unplug that. So pretty much to mount the halos, we'll start off with the low beam, which is the 90mm. Pretty much what we need to do is drill a hole, 4.5mm hole, in the section here, essentially, to run our cable through. 4.5mm is enough to run this through. We've got to deep in the plug to get it through. I'll drill a hole and we'll go from there. I should have added, when drilling a hole, you don't drill it through from this side. Obviously there's only a very, very small gap. You don't want your drill bit to slip and ruin the little look on the inside here. So I drill them from the back. And I just put a drill bit in down here and it keeps it in line and drills a pretty good hole. So I'm going to grab my drill, 4.5mm drill bit, and get that done. The halos, essentially what you want to get is a pair of tweezers or something of the same size. I've already done the first pin. Essentially, I'll try and zoom in, is there's little tabs that poke up. Excuse my disgusting fingers. Little tabs that put up, pretty much you want to push them down and essentially pull the core out. So it pulls out like that. You'll see the tabs still sticking up a little bit, pretty much. That's the concept of it, and get rid of that plug so we can get that cable through that hole. Quick thing before mounting this, pretty much, this double-sided tape here, I just cut a section. I just cut around where the cable goes through. Just makes the cable go through directly on the back of the board, which makes it not be able to be seen. Halo is mounted, cable goes through the back, not able to be seen. I've put a little tack of glue up here because these do have double-sided tape on them, but during summer, whatnot, it can get pretty weak and sort of detach itself. So putting that glue on there essentially will make sure it stays in position no matter what. Next will be our 80mm halo. This is a bit different. Essentially 80mm will fit perfectly in here. Obviously we've only got this surface the tape will stick to, but essentially this part will stick onto, this part we'll put a bit of glue on the back. The halo will be mounted upside down, so the cable goes out the top rather than out the bottom, because if it was out the bottom you would see it and it would look ugly. So I'll do that now and I'll come back and show you. The halo is mounted, so pretty much put him just along there. Cable comes out the top so it's not seen. I've got a bit of glue around these points. That'll keep it in there. It's not going to go anywhere, and it's actually pretty got a bit of clamping force in here. So normally how I get them in there is put your bottom in first, because you'll see any marks that it could create. As you can see up the top, it's made a little mark. That won't be seen when it's in the headlight. So essentially that's in. And now essentially we're up to the last part, is test these halos, make sure they're all good. We're going to put that back into the lens as we saw before. But the last part essentially is grabbing our body. Basically we need a path to route all the cables that we've just put in through here. So what I do, as explained before, the kit comes with a cable gland. We drill a 12mm hole. I do that with a Christmas tree bit. I normally do it right next to the indicator here, either this side or that side. I'll probably go that side this time, just to route those cables through. So I'll fit that up. We'll put some more butyl sealant, as I explained, that comes in the kit. Doesn't need a whole lot because there is a fair bit there, and that's all brand new stuff, so it will seal properly. We're just going to add a bit more into the channel just for whatever we peeled away when we were taking the headlights apart. So I'll put the gland in, I'll do that, I'll put the lens in, back in the shroud back in the lens, and then we'll get ready to seal it back up. Alright, so I've just put a bit of sealant back in the channel. Essentially we've got our little gland in here where we'll run our cables through now. I'm going to do the hardest ones first that need to route sort of through the housing so you don't see them. This side, because it comes through up the top, we need to go behind this and route it through. This one goes underneath, so that's fine, but the other DRL comes in up the top, so we need to go down in here so it doesn't affect anything when we put it back together. So I'll do that and we'll get ready to seal it. Best I can, I've routed this guy high beam over the whole frame. The DRL's going over the frame as well, and you might be able to see it down there, your low beam is coming out of the bottom, which goes through there. Hard to see, but they're all routed through. What's left to do, I've got to put these two things back on the gland. So at the moment they're just flowing through like this, so I'll put the rubber and then the tightening nut on the top, tighten her up, get plugs on these, get these plugs back on, test them, and throw them in the oven for 7 minutes. Pretty much push it all together, making sure those clips go back in, and put your screws and your indicator back in, and pretty much job done. And sealed him back up. All these clips, as you can see, are over the clips on the lens. Our screws are in, everything's back together. Flick them on, and this is your end result. So these controllers have a 200 or 200 plus modes, all solid colors and all of that. The controllers also have switchback option where everything will flash to the indicators, that sort of thing. So this was the DIY kit for the DRL headlights for VE Series 1 and Series 2. The boards will work with both sets of headlights. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.